Hello guys, it's time for me to swap the tires on my T7 and I'm changing to Mitas Enduro Trail XT Plus because I just got the best job in the world, and that is, together with Mitas over the year, try as many tires and give feedback to them and to you on all tires that I can wear down. So, but I really look forward to acquaint myself with my previous favorites, the Rally Star from Mitas and also the E09, which this is the new version of. So I'm going to take off these tires, put the new ones on, do all that stuff, and you can tag along and see how I change tires. Because it saves a lot of money. I change tires on 2 bikes, at least 2 times a year per bike, so that's a lot of money to be saved by doing it yourself, and you get proficient on the trails also. All right. And to do the most of the work, I use my tools that I have on the trail, these 2 favorite spoons that I have. So yeah, so first we'll take the wheels off, and for that I need small sockets here, 10 and 12 on the T7 this is, a torque wrench, 19mm hex and a 27mm socket, and that should be everything you need. And for the actual tire change work, you need tire levers, valve screw thing, 12mm wrench, and some soapy water. Not much more than that. Usually 2 beers, 1 per tire if it's both tires, and if it's the first time you may need a backup for that. So that's for the actual tire job. And pump it up, just so it's stable. Actually, it's nice to wear gloves doing this job. So we'll do that. So we'll start with the front tire and just loosen the pinch bolts a bit. They should be very easy to open up, because the pinch bolts sort of tightens the grip around the axle. So we want to open these before we start this. 19mm, and that's why I keep the tire on the ground so it doesn't spin when I do this. Pump it up a little bit more. I usually loosen the brake caliper on one side. And one there. So front wheel is off. Now I have this stand, which is nice to have, but it works with a bucket. Just something that you can, a bucket with a diameter larger than the brake discs. Use the valve tool to take the core out. And the little nut. So now we need to break the bead to get it off the rim, and on this thing I have, of course, a thing to help that, but I like to practice using the spoons as I would do on the trail. There are specific bead breaking stuff, but I use only these. And what I usually do is, and you need to take time and small efforts here, but I point this downwards, just squeeze it in there as far as you can, and then you cross this one and take that with the lip upwards. And now I use this to pry the, yeah, it was quite easy this time. Something like that, and just push it. But now, actually, now let's put some soapy water on here. I'm starting on the opposite side from the valve, and just point these down and bend it over. And I put this under the brake disc. Do the same thing here. Then just take next one. And when you get this far, everything gets real easy. At this stage, I want to get the tube out. Just get this in there and over. Maybe we need some little lube. You will hear a lot of panting. There we are. And here I use the same soap water just to do some cleaning, checking that the rubber band here in the middle is looking good. So now we're going to put this tire on, the XT Plus front tire, and put a 2mm front tube. And when I put this tube in here, first I'll get some air into it, just so it comes alive a little bit. Just a little bit, so it's, yeah, something like that. I put the tire up with the ABS ring up, because I know it's on the left side and the wheel rotates like this. And on the tire there's a directional arrow, so I can now see that it rotates like that. However, this Enduro Trail XT Plus is omnidirectional, so it doesn't matter, but it's important for you to think about. Okay, so now it's time to get all these together. And we have a yellow dot on the tire. If it's a tire that's meant for higher speeds, which this is, it usually has a yellow dot on the lightest part of the tire. Then just put it in here. All right. Slippery. And now what I like to do, because getting the valve in through the rim is sometimes a hassle, so I usually push it in before, put the little lock nut on the other side. Now I don't have to think about that. Push it in and make sure that the bottom part here now is inside the deepest groove up here, because that means you have more space up there. You may want to stop for a beer once in a while, because this part and getting the last bead on can be need of some relaxation. Get in there. So we want slipperiness. We want to keep this as low as possible, so it comes into the groove. Work slowly. And for the last tough stretch. And do not push the lever further up and then straight up, because you may pinch something in there. There it is. Now it's time to inflate the tire. And there's a thin little line just above the bead. It's not visible so much yet, but when we inflate it, it's not visible because it's too deep into the rim right now, but when I inflate it, I want to see that line all around the rim. I pump it up to about 3.5 now just to set the bead. That's 3 bar. And now I check to see if I can see the little line around here, and I can. And I check the other side. So in the light, do I see? Yeah, I see that line all around. Looks good. Let's leave it at the standard 2.2 bars. And with balancing, I've upgraded. I used to have this cheap balancer where I put between 2 chairs and this thing, but since I do this a lot, I've upgraded to a proper wheel balancer from Rabaconda, and it stays nice on the floor, but what I really enjoy is the wall mount. So what I do is I take this balancer axle, or what the name is, I put them in the center, tighten the bolts here, tighten it a little bit here, and now I can actually turn this, which is threaded, so now it increases the pressure and keeps it really stable. Then I put it on the steel bearings and let go, and this is always exciting. What will happen? Freaking nothing. You can see it spins so easily, but I think now we have some turning. I thought I was lucky there. So I have the yellow dot at 4 o'clock, so let's turn it 90 degrees and see. Yeah, some stuff are happening. 4 o'clock, this should be the heavy point. Heavy point in the bottom, of course. When balancing wheels, I'm much more picky with the front wheel, because if there's unbalance there, that's what you will feel in the handlebar. The rear wheel is so heavy and much thicker and so on, and doesn't have the same effect on riding, so I'm a bit less picky. So let's see what we can do about the weight. Yeah, it stopped here, so I will just add a lead weight that I have, that I can squeeze it onto the spoke. When it's slow like this, I'm usually satisfied. It's a fringe case, but I will let it be like this. I don't ride 150 kilometers anyway. And we have a nice new tire. So let's put that back on. So these spacers go into the bearing here, so I try to keep this clean. Put some grease in here where the spacers go in. So it's like glue, because these fall off quite a bit, but now when I have grease in both, they sort of act like glue a little bit. And now usually I take a flathead screwdriver and just twist it in there a bit, so I push the brake pads apart. And now I screw this in until it bites. Something like that. But actually, this actually is not fastened at all to this part, so the fork will move freely right now until I pinch it. So I will just have it in there. I will have the brake caliper back on. Screw them on until it reaches the end. Don't tighten them, but just make them sort of stable and not flimsy at all. Because now we take the bike off the stand. Like that. And now we push the bike down. I have to pump up the brake pressure again. Now we look at the axle, so it's flush with a hole here, and yeah, I can tighten the last bit with a torque, and when it's tightened, I tighten the pinch bolts. Also, by braking, when pumping, I align the brake with the direction and everything. So now it should be relaxed, because if I tighten everything without this exercise, I might tighten everything in a strained position. And now, tighten front to spec, 72 Newton meters, 40 Newton meter. Then we have the pinch bolts, some 20 Newton meters, but I usually just go by feel here. I tighten them, but just until they give some resistance, and back and forth, back and forth. So that's that. Now I just have to do the rear wheel also. I've broken a little bit of sweat here, not too bad. Didn't even have a beer yet. I'll have one and then go on the rear tire. Same procedure, so we won't be in that much detail. So yeah. Lever 2. And there, it's off. Set it here, it's loop. Oh, there we are, sweat is dripping. Ah, that's what we want to hear. So, here we are. 2 new tires on and 1,000 calories lost working. Of course, it's easier to turn it into a shop. But in Sweden, I saved at least 150, perhaps even 200 euros doing this, and doing that on multiple bikes. I did the AJP yesterday. So yeah, and it's a nice time for yourself in the garage, getting a workout. So yeah, I'm happy. Hope you enjoyed watching it. Perhaps got inspired to do it. Try it out yourself. Do it with a friend the first time, it's always easier. And happy levering. Thanks for watching. Next video I'll talk about tires in general, tire choice, and yeah, all the variables that come with them. So stay tuned for that. Thank you. Cheers.